the shortcut named Aftercare that ran itself. My phone likes to pretend it's my assistant. It nudges me about bills and stands between me and spam. It also has the unlovely habit of telling the truth before I'm ready to hear it. At 12:38 a.m., while I was rinsing a plate I didn't dirty and trying not to resent the sound of the water for being a metronome, a banner slid down over my lock screen. Shortcuts automation. Aftercare ran. I didn't make an automation named Aftercare. Mine are called walk lights and grocery list and water plants before they beg. The little glyph under the text showed a map pin and a moon. Below it, in Apple's small, confident type, when I arrive at Vireo Hotel, set do not disturb, dim lights, play soft late, send home safe to R. I stared at the rectangle until it felt like the phone was breathing. The details link expanded with a nervous eagerness. Location Vireo Hotel, trigger arrive, actions DND, home scene late night, music playlist soft late, messages to R. My name is Daniel. My wife is Rhea. The only R in my life whose initial can make my ribs shrink is not in my contacts. The dishwater turned lukewarm. I turned the tap off and dried my hands because my mother taught me not to let water stand, and because I needed 15 seconds that weren't accusation. Our apartment looked like the way we have learned to live: ugly lamp, decent rug, 2 chairs that know our shapes. Rhea had texted at 10 with her hyphen, studio late. She designs projection. She keeps rooms honest by making light speak in full sentences. I make rooms sound the way they would if they had better memories. I pressed the banner. The shortcuts log offered no apologies. It had run. It had toggled her phone quiet. It had dimmed the lights at our place to a scene I didn't author. It had played music somewhere I was. It had told R she was safe. There are versions of me that call, versions that break things, versions that perform nobility like a sport. I put on a jacket instead. I turned the lamp off because it didn't deserve this, locked the door that sticks if you're impatient, and walked toward the Vireo with my hands in my pockets to keep them from auditioning for crimes. Vireo Hotel sits 3 blocks off the river pretending to be humble. The lobby smells like cedar made nervous by citrus. The desk clerk has the face of a person trained to say of course in 7 tempos. I did not ask for anything. I stood near a plant and let the room measure me against its idea of me. A couple crossed the floor with the posture of people who believe in what they're about to try. A man in a suit that wanted to be a friend to his bones asked for water in a voice that thought it could heal acoustics. The elevator returned to the ground floor like a promise reclaimed. I left nothing there but the part of me that wanted spectacle. Back home, I set my phone on the counter so it wouldn't get to skirt responsibility in my pocket. I poured water and tasted metal. I stood without moving until the lock turned, and the hallway light put its hand under the door the way light does when it's nosy. Rhea came in with her hair pinned, and the specific fatigue she gets when she has spent her day convincing surfaces to tell the truth. "You're up," she said, not a question. "Your phone is very helpful," I said. "Aftercare sends its regards." She looked at my phone and then at me. She didn't perform. She didn't run. She did her most dangerous thing. She walked to the counter until we were hip to hip and put both palms on the wood we bought second-hand and became present. "Kitchen or small room?" she asked. "We have made a ritual out of locations. The small room is where the ugly lamp lives and our rules hang like an extra backbone. The kitchen is where the knives are, and therefore where our better angels patrol the air." "Here," I said, "let the refrigerator mind your thesis." She dimmed the overhead light 1 notch the way she dims rooms that have been too proud, and nodded like she would rather be cut by a clean blade than a dull one. "I wrote that shortcut 2 years ago," she said. Before you and I learned what we're trying to be now. Before I trusted myself to leave situations I made shiny. I named it Aftercare because I didn't know the word antidote. It was a way to guarantee at least one good decision on nights that invited worse ones. You triggered it tonight, I said. The sentence sat there and behaved. Yes, she said, and did not ask me to be proud of her for the truth. Theo insisted I see the Vireo lobby wall after hours. He has that personality that turns rooms into stages for what he thinks he's not saying. I went because part of my job is to know when a wall is lying about its history. He said the line men like him say to people like me, "You look different when you're not managing," and I kissed him once to shut it up. It tasted like youth I don't miss. I pressed Aftercare in the elevator because I didn't trust the next song to be kind. What did you want? I asked. Not because I didn't know, but because the body requires the mind to translate if we're going to keep living together. To confirm a diagnosis, she said. To learn whether the version of me who thinks yes is proof I'm interesting is finally dead. She is. She's weak. She can be negotiated with. She doesn't get in our bed without asking the person who actually belongs there. Do you want him? The word want is an instrument. You can play it cruel or you can aim for tune. No, she said. I want an hour where the light likes me better than I deserve. He impersonates that hour well. You build it here. She touched the counter like it could testify. We stood in the honest quiet that comes before people choose to be tender or theatrical. I took the takeout menu we've turned into a constitution and uncapped the pen that lives in the sugar bowl. Truth before automation, I wrote. She nodded. If my phone is going to tell you anyway, she said, I'd like my mouth to get there first. If you think you have to field test a kiss to prove you don't want it, I added, invite the researcher into the kitchen. She smiled once, the way people do when rescue and embarrassment arrive in the same elevator. Storm or quiet? She asked, voice warm at the edges. Quiet, I said, then enough weather to rinse the room. We ate standing because chairs ask you to commit to a scene, and we were not interested in playwriting. After, she came close enough that Cotton could negotiate for us, and set her mouth under my jaw where words start dying if they're not careful. I took her face in both hands, and she made the sound she makes when relief starts negotiating with appetite. She climbed onto the counter because physics can be romance. We were careful because spectacle belongs to people who need witnesses. We were greedy because yes is a resource and we keep it solvent. We stopped before our bodies tried to pass policy. We rested our foreheads together until breath remembered it had a simpler job. In the morning, my phone wanted to be part of the marriage it had injured. Aftercare not run, it notified at 7:12 a.m., a machine's idea of humor. I thumbed into the automations list and watched Ria's finger tap remove with more tenderness than I expected to feel watching a program die. She forwarded a message she had already sent to the sponsor. No more after hours. Boardroom or not at all. Blend reserved for work only. He replied correctly, understood, and CC'd his assistant the way men believe bureaucracy is sincerity. For a week, the city pretended to mind its manners. We made the bed every morning because structure is a kink we both share. I mixed an exhibit that wanted rain to sound like forgiveness. Ria coaxed a wall into telling a story without pretending it had invented grief. When the bad minutes came, she would drag my hand to the small square at the top of her spine and whisper quiet, and the weather would pass because weather always passes if you refuse it an audience. Then my phone decided to be petty a second way. Shortcut shared with you, it said at 1:02 p.m. like a kindergarten teacher who had never known betrayal. The card that appeared was called Backstairs. Trigger, when I leave Vireo Hotel. Actions, send going home now to E. I took a screenshot. Ria was in the hall on a video call telling a producer she would not turn the sky into a product. When she hung up, she came into the kitchen the way you sit down for a test you prepared for and still dread. I showed her the rectangle. She blew air out her nose the way she does when she discovers she's left a window open and the rain has only reached the sill. "I made that last spring," she said. "I used it twice. Both times to tell a friend I was choosing the stairs over the elevator because elevators like speeches. E is Eliza, the cinematographer with the shaved head and the better shoes. You met her at the thing with the chandelier you hated." "My panic owes Eliza an apology," I said. "Invite it to dinner," she said. "Make it do dishes." She removed the share while I watched, not asking for points and therefore collecting them without interest. Of course the city laid a trap. 2 nights later, Virio called to say a panel had failed and the lobby was sulking. Ria went because it's her job to tell sulking surfaces to grow up. Theo was there in a jacket that had learned nothing. He kept his nouns to himself for 5 minutes. Then he failed. Ria told him no with a patience I tried to deserve. He did something rare and left like a decent person. We saw him again at a fundraiser disguised as a jazz show. He nodded to me the way you nod at a person you once hoped to ruin and then chose to inconvenience instead. He said to Ria, "Light looks better when it stops apologizing." She said, "So do you," and we walked out before the room could attach meaning on our behalf. At home, under the ugly lamp, we made one more rule. If a room tries to hire us as characters, we ask for the rate and then say no. We taped it under the others with a magnet shaped like a lemon, because chastisement should come with color. I would love to tell you the phone learned boundaries. It did not. A month later, a new banner arrived, a memory for you. It was Ria's face, not at a hotel, not in someone else's idea of intimacy, but in our kitchen, flower on her cheek, my hand in the frame at the edge, the two of us out of focus and obvious. I pressed play. The little film stitched us into 30 seconds of ourselves. I let it. Machines sometimes do the right thing by accident. Still, at unkind hours, we get pings. Automation not available, shortcut failed to run, suggestion based on your routine. We are not a routine. We are stubborn. When my chest rehearses old narratives, I walk into the kitchen and say them out loud where the refrigerator can take notes. Ria listens the way people do who have realized love is 90% attention and 10% not making it performance. Last night the door stuck because humidity is essentially gossip with a hobby. She pressed her shoulder to it and laughed the small laugh that keeps me human. "Push first," she said, a sentence so domestic it felt like holy text. I did. It opened. The lamp was ugly. We were forgiven. She slid into me the way she does when she wants storm without casualties. I set my mouth to her collarbone, and she said my name the way a person says a location when they've finally arrived. We stopped because we like wanting in the morning. We slept because the house had earned it. This morning my phone decided to be useful. It suggested a new automation. When I arrive home, turn on kitchen warm, play bread knife, send here to Ria. I laughed into my coffee, and because I like rituals, I created it. We are not above teaching machines good habits. We are also not above making rules until the paper runs out. There is a new line on the menu now, written in her handwriting that makes sponsors fix their posture even over email. Aftercare is not an app. It's what we do when we get here. Here is not a hotel. Here is not a building that wants us to admire ourselves. Here is the counter, the lamp, the ridiculous rug, the door that needs to be pushed before it forgives. Here is a kiss we've failed to cheapen. Here is the only automation I intend to keep. You and me choosing on purpose, under lights we dim with our hands.